Hello everyone, this is Gary from Fantastic Fundas, and in this lecture of Polity today, this is the second lecture for the Union Executive, and this is also the second part of the President. And in this lecture today, we will start with the presidential privileges. I hope you have listened to the earlier lecture on the President for better clarity, right? So this is on the privileges of the President. This is a little tougher lecture than the last one, okay? And this is also about all the powers and the privileges, right? So the privileges of the president, they are very wide, and in fact they have been well given in the constitution itself, and they have been given in the constitution's article number 361. Now because of 361, under this clause there are a few things. For example, it is a very wide ambit, right? No court can ask him to do any duty or task, okay? So no court can ask him for any duty or task, okay? Court cannot ask him to do that. And then, in the cases of his official acts, he's got absolute immunity. Whatever he does as the President of India, he's got absolute immunity to it. So official acts, he's got absolute immunity. Then, okay, but please remember then that this immunity over here, this is just for the President. So there can be a case against the government of India, but there cannot be a case against the President of India, okay? Then this is all given in the article 360 clause 1, and the second clause, you don't have to remember these clauses. These are just for me and for some over curious souls who want to learn everything in the world, okay? So then number 2 is that no criminal proceeding can be initiated against the president, okay? No criminal proceeding can be against him, right? And obviously, even if he not obvious, but it's there that this is for his official acts, right? And also even for his personal acts. This is like little strange. Now if the President of India commits a rape, he cannot be punished for that, right? So this is how it goes, right? He cannot be punished in criminal proceeding, at least under IPC he cannot be punished, right? Number 3, more privileges coming to the president. See, basically now the person who is the President of India would not commit rape ordinarily, because he would be a person of great integrity and probity and honesty, and a person of great good moral character, right? See, how can you ever even think people, somebody of a great character like Kalam committing any such offense, right? Or even for that matter, Pranab Mukherjee, the president, right? He's got a great personality, and you cannot expect him to commit any such grave thing, right? So that is why this immunity is there at personal level also, right? And then at number 3, we have this no arrest or imprisonment can be made of his during the term of his office, okay? So he cannot be arrested or he cannot be given any imprisonment during the term of his office. And then at number 4, there cannot be any civil proceeding against the president ordinarily, but if there has to be a civil proceeding, then it can be done right, only for his personal acts, not for the official acts. So it can be for his personal acts, and then for that at least 2 months notice has to be given to the president. And also he will get proper defense and all the paraphernalia for his defense, okay? So that is how it goes, right? And then beyond this, there are like this is like the major privileges of the president, right? Presidential privileges, okay? Now, how do we assure that the president, whatever he's working, that he works absolutely in what is called as under no influence of anybody else? For example, what maintains the independence of his office? That is our next topic, okay? So how do we know that? How do we maintain the independence of the office of the president, that he works under no pressure? So he's given a fixed 5-year term. So this is a big thing, okay? 5-year term for the president. So once he's in the office, he knows he's going to stay in the office. Nobody can remove him easily, so he can take his decisions on his own. Then even if he can be removed by the process of impeachment. I have already discussed this. Now this is a very difficult process, so normally president would not be scared of this also, okay? Then there is article 361. I have just talked to you about that, right? About the judicial immunities. Then all the civil criminal proceedings immunities I have talked to you. And then his emolument, his salary is fixed. He is not to worry about his salary. How will his children come up? How will his money go? And all the story, okay? Obviously, he lives in a damn god presidential bungalow. That's not a bungalow is a very small word for that, okay? That is an estate in itself, okay? Presidential estate, right? Anyway, so by these methods we can be sure that president, these will take care of the normal take care of the normal things of life, and once done, he can be free and he can work freely. That's how it goes. Okay. Now comes the powers of the president, which is the most important, most critical, and whatever you want to call it, the topic for your mains as well as prelim exam. Okay, so this we will go into little detail when we do this, right? So number one, the biggest power the president of India has got is the legislative power. Legislative power. Okay, this power includes the law power to make laws, the power relating to legislature, any such thing. Okay, I have included all that under the whatever is related to legislature under this heading. Okay, that is the legislative power. We're going to talk about 8 or 9 kinds of powers of the president of India, right? Now, see what he does. Who makes the law? Parliament, right? Legislature makes the law, right? So what he does is he summons at least twice a year. Okay, number one is summons, then he does that twice per year. Okay, that, and then maximum gap between 2 sessions is also just 6 months, right? And then he prorogues the house. Prorogues. Okay, prorogues means that you adjourn the house without dissolving it. Okay, and then he also dissolves the house whenever there need be. By dissolving the house, I mean the government is over, new government is appointed later on. Okay, and then this is like one of his legislative powers. This is again related to legislature because of its inherent nature related to legislature, right? Then after 2, this is like A. Okay, let's call it A. Number B over here is he can nominate 12 members to the Rajya Sabha. 12 members to the Rajya Sabha. Very, very, very important thing, right? 12 members to Rajya Sabha. Now this is given under article number, if I recall it, article number 80, right? So what happens in this is that he will appoint few people to the Rajya Sabha. Okay, and but there are few conditions when he appoints such people to the Rajya Sabha. What are those conditions? I'll tell you. For that you will have to look into article 80. Article 80 is clause 3. Please look over there. If you have the Bear Act, you can open that. I'll help you read that. Okay, it says the member who may be nominated by the president shall consist of, you can omit whatever I omit from reading, shall consist of persons having. So what is the condition? Whomsoever the president feels is a person who's having special knowledge plus practical experience. So both the things are there, right? So anybody with the special knowledge plus practical things, right? In what field? In few fields, like in the field of literature, okay, in the field of art and science, okay, and social service. So if the president feels that the person excelled in the field of literature or art or science or social service, he shall be made the president of India. Now I have a trivia for you. Under what clause the Sachin Tendulkar made the member of Rajya Sabha? And you can discuss that in the comment section below, right? Anyway, now then after article 80 there comes a very important article there later after this 80, that's like 86 actually. Okay, let's talk about it. You can open 86. This is about that the president may address the houses jointly or separately. Okay, so he can just send the message to the, number one is that he can send the message to the house, send message to the house, and number 2 is that he can address the houses jointly or separately, separately. Okay, this is important aspect over here, right? And but in fact this is interesting to know that article 86 has not been used as such. It had never been put into force as such. Okay, so that is how it goes, right? 86, right? Then then also article 87 is there. Article 87 is about the special address by the president, or special address. Now what is happening in this, that whenever there is a commencement of the first session, right, when like Modi government came, or when whatever the earlier UPA, that is the Congress government came, there was a first session for the first time when they enter the parliament, right, after the general election to the Lok Sabha. Okay, at then there is a special address, and then there is also special address at the commencement of the first session of each year. Okay, so every time, every new year, the first session that is over here, that is also addressed by the president. Okay, and president addresses both the houses together, assembled, and they informs and it tells the parliament, all the houses, that why the reasons for its summons. Okay, so that is all it goes. Okay, and then but very interesting question comes up from this part of the syllabus, article 87. I'll tell you what is it. Okay, So okay, let me put it in the form of question for you. You may try to answer this question, right? Now, suppose Lok Sabha has been dissolved, okay, at the time of the commencement of the first session. If Lok Sabha is dissolved, right, and the Rajya Sabha has to meet, right, then the Rajya Sabha can have its session without the president's address, okay, because president address will be joint only. Suppose there is no Lok Sabha and over the first session time only Rajya Sabha is there, so it can have its session without the address of the president, right? This is important thing. Okay, that was my question only, which I answered without asking the question. Now, see, it did happen actually, right? For example, at the time in the 1977, right? What happened that the Lok Sabha had dissolved, but even then the Rajya Sabha session took place without the address of the president. So presidential address is more related to the Lok Sabha in this manner, okay? And president's address to both the houses, it is a constitutional obligation, obviously, as I said, right? And what does president say in this address? What is said in this special address? You can go to YouTube, and as you are watching this lecture, just you can search on the side. I'll try to put link also of the president's address when the new government was formed in 2014. Okay, I will talk about that, right? I'll just put the link for that. You can see that how that happens. It is always good to see, right? So it's a constitutional obligation on the president to address the houses, both houses together. And what does he address? What does he say in that address? See, basically it is the draft which is prepared by government only. In this he will say is that it is a statement of the government policy, okay, whatever he is speaking here, the statement of the government policy. And he's the constitutional head, he's the symbol, so through him this is being delivered, being shared with the people of the India country, right? Now the president represents not only just the executive authority, but he's also the symbol of constitution. That is like, these are the reasons for which we have this, okay? And then once he addresses, then the motion of thanks is moved in the parliament, okay? Motion of thanks, it's just simple that all the people vote and to say thank you to the president, right? And if this motion is defeated, it brings a lot of embarrassment for the government. In fact, government has to resign if this is defeated over here, right? And it is adopted, like it can be adopted with or without amendments, okay, with or without amendments. That is how it goes, right? So let's move ahead, right? And then president can also then there is he can issue ordinances, right? We'll talk about the ordinances later on. For example, under Article 1, 2, 3 he can do that, right? And then president lays lot of reports in parliament. He is the person responsible, okay? He's a duty to lay certain reports in the parliament, and these reports over here laid in the name in the parliament by him. What are these? Okay, we'll talk about them. For example, the annual budget is laid by the president, okay? Annual budget, and then so many other things I'll list you out, okay? For example, CAG report and finance commission recommendations and the UPSC, okay? I have seen this report. In this they talk about these many people of this profession have been selected and blah blah, all that detail. UPSC gives the full-fledged report what it has done in the last 1 year, right? And then any report by the National Commission for Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes, okay, this report. And then any report by National Commission for Backward Classes, even that is led by the president only. And then any whatever is related to linguistic minorities report, okay, linguistic minorities report, even this is led by the president in the parliament, okay, linguistic minorities report. And then after the coming of the recent this Lokpal Act, right, we have even the Lokpal report being presented before the parliament by the president. That is why actually this question was being asked in paper during that time, right? And then he can do like more things. For example, the state bills, right, which restrict the freedom of trade, so those he can place. So state bills which restrict freedom of trade, those can be those bills are laid by the president only, right? And then any amendment which is related to the taxation in which the states are interested, okay, any amendment which is related to the taxation in which which states are interested, states have any interest, okay. And then finally, you know, one more thing is there, anything, you know, any law, any bill, whatever, like changes the definition of the agricultural land, okay. The definition of agricultural land for the purpose of course, I mean, meant to say the definition of agriculture income. This is also laid by the with the permission of the president only. But then there is more to it, okay. And for example, if any, these were the reports actually, okay, earlier on, these were the reports, and these are the various acts and the bills over here, okay, which are laid by the president, acts and the bills. So what is it? Okay, I'll just change the color to make it visible for you. So you know what he's doing, that anything which you know changes the agricultural income, okay. And then this Lokpal is the report only, that this is like different, okay. This is related to this only, right. And then, you know, any state bill which restricts the freedom of the trade, and any amendment to the constitution which is related to the taxation in which the states are interested, okay. All these parts of the bills also. Then there are more bills regarding which the president after only seeking the when the president gives his recommendation, those bills can be laid before the parliament. For example, I'll write on this page only for your comfort, number 4 over here. I write from here, okay. Let me just draw the arrow. So what is it? Number 4 is any, like, you know, this is related to Article 3, okay. Whenever there is a new state formed, or the alteration or the formation of a new state, then this is there. Number 5 is there, that is related to the money bill, okay. All kind of money bill can be laid by the cannot be laid in parliament before the permission of the president, right. He only lays them before it. And then, you know, related to financial bill, okay. What is a financial bill? We'll talk about it later on. For now, please just understand there is something called financial bill. Financial bill has 2 parts, financial bill A and financial bill B. So financial bill A, that is also laid with the permission of the recommendation of the president, right. President recommends all this to introduce in this color, okay. Then number 7, you know, there is financial bill only, and this is part B of it, okay. Basically this part B of the financial bill, in this, it's not the introduction of the bill that is taken up. It is in fact, when it is taken up for consideration, then the president has to recommend it, okay. And then, you know, number 8 comes, and in that there is what is known as the commerce and the trade bill, okay. Commerce and trade bill, okay. All that which is the state legislature. I've already said this, so it's just a repetition over here, right. So this is how the acts and the bills and all that stuff, right, this is laid by the parliament, before the parliament, with or introduced to the parliament by the president. It has to be done. It's a constitutional duty on the president, right. Now, whatever bill is passed in the parliament, all bills in the parliament, right, after their introduction, right, they should be passed by the president. Bills become acts, okay. Bill is something which is in masauda, जैसे हिंदी में you call masauda, okay. Whatever is introduced in the parliament is a raw form of law, right. It is approved, reapproved, and finalized, debated, discussed, and whatever, right. And and all that after final discussion, whatever finally comes, that is sent to the president. And when president, you know, after obviously with passing by proper majority, when the president gives approval, it becomes the act. And act is what? It is same as the bill, but it is passed by the president, okay. And act is something which is in force. Bills do not force. If any crime is committed which is given under the bill, it is not punishable. If it is under act only, then it is punishable, okay. So this is how it goes, right. Now all the bills have to be passed by the president, right. They need president's assent, right. But, you know, there are just 2 bills in which the president must give assent within reasonable time, okay. Assent in reasonable time is to be given. That is important aspect of this, okay. Assent in reasonable time. And what are these? One is the constitutional amendment bill, okay, and number 2 is the money bill. In these, the president cannot really withhold them, and he has to give the assent as far as ASAP, okay, as soon as possible, right. He can reject it also, right, for reconsideration, you know, also, but he can't be sent back for, he can reject it, right, but he can't send it back for reconsideration. He can reject it though, right. I'm talking about the money bill, okay. And in case of the ordinary and financial bills, right, then, you know, he has like got 3 options, right. In all other bills, or whatever is left is the other bill, or let's say you can call it ordinary bill, okay, and also the financial bills. So regarding these 3 bills here, like there are 3 options, okay. And What are these options? These are related to the veto powers which I wanted to talk to you. Veto power is of three types of the president. One is the absolute veto, second is the suspensive veto, and third is the pocket veto. Okay, very simple thing to understand. I will not make it complex for you. Absolute veto, he may or may not give his assent. He gives his assent or he doesn't give his assent. Okay, now for absolute veto, actually this power, in reality this power is of the council of minister, because president in the discretion related to absolute veto works on the advice of the council of minister. Okay, for example, President Venkat Raman, the advice of VP Singh, he held some salary bill, right, as it was introduced without his assent. So basically this is done by the government when the government feels there is some big error that has been committed which should be corrected. So they ask the president, please do not pass the bill, we will pass it again, and then you send it to you and then you pass it. Okay, Mr. Mukherjee, this is how they speak. Okay, and then after that comes the suspensive veto. Okay, suspensive veto is what president may send back a bill to the parliament for reconsideration. So okay, the parliament this is for sent back for reconsideration, right? And this is basically a kind of temporary block. This suspensive veto, suspension temporary hota hai hamesha hi. Okay, but if this bill is parliament passes this bill again, right, then the president will have to give his assent to this. Okay, and for example Kalam, okay, the Kalam, what he did was he sent back this what is known as Parliament Office of Profit Bill in 2006. Okay, Office of Profit Bill 2006. Okay, this is how it is going, right? So then comes this is third kind of veto power. Okay, so one is absolute, and then is suspensive, and then this is the pocket veto. I've already written this here. In this, the president does nothing. He just keeps the bill with himself and in his books, and no action is taken in this regard. Okay, he just keeps lying on the table indefinitely. Now, the difference between India and USA is that in the United States you do not have pocket veto. You just cannot keep it there forever. There's a limited time for it. But in India you can do it forever, right? And for example, in India, this bill, the Indian Postal Bill of 1986, was held under the pocket veto. Indian Postal Bill. Okay, I'm writing it here in the last bottom of the page, 1986, right? So these kind of things are there when regarding the other bills. And for the constitutional amendment in money bill, he has to pass it, right? And but he can even reject it in certain manners, right? Money bill, but he cannot send it back for reconsideration. And as far as the other two bills are concerned, for example, this thing, the ordinary bill and the financial bill, then the president has to follow this particular procedure. Okay, and then there's also given under okay, we'll talk about that later on. I was talking about Article 74. Okay, let's leave that for now. Coming to now there's one more aspect of it, like regarding the legislative powers, and that is about the joint session of parliament. Okay, joint session of parliament. Okay, let me tell you about this. This is a very, very special kind of provision given in the constitution, right? And I'll tell you what are these provisions. So in this case, what happens, and whenever there is a disagreement between the two houses over a particular bill, right, then the president summons the joint sitting of the house for in which the Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha sit together and then vote for the bill. Okay, and this joint sitting can only be for any bill which is this cannot be for money bill or a constitutional amendment bill, right? Money bill or constitutional amendment bill, because in these cases there is an obligation on the Rajya Sabha, right? And then anyway, right, we'll discuss this topic of joint session in greater detail later on. Here the focus is on president, that is why I'm cutting it short. Now the president summons a joint sitting over here, that is the power of the president, right? And and after the consultation with the Rajya Sabha chairman and the Lok Sabha, right, the speaker of the Lok Sabha, the rules are made for the procedure with respect to the joint sitting. That is how it goes. Okay. Number two, regarding the rules that I just mentioned you, right, there are also a certain other rules. So that was like another provision related to the power of the president, and there's one more provision related to power of the president. That is actually, I was reminded by the word rules, that the rules regarding the recruitment, okay, the recruitment and the conditions of service, of persons who are appointed to the secretarial staff of the representative house, they are made by the the president does that. Okay, the condition service he lays down in consultation with the chairman of the Rajya Sabha and the speaker of the Lok Sabha. Okay, so that was pretty much about the legislative powers of the president, right? But now there's one most important aspect of the legislative power remaining, and that is related to the ordinance making power. Okay, now we will discuss this in detail. There is a very high probability that this will be asked to you in your paper. Okay, ordinance making power. Okay, let's begin with this. Is given under the article 123. Now this ordinance making power is an exceptional power, and thus it is supposed to be used exceptionally only. Okay, and it says, it is basically it does happen during the recess of the parliament, right? And right now when both the houses are not in session, so no house is in session, no house in session, right? Then also, and if the president feels, okay, and obviously president feels only on the advice of the council of ministers, right? And the president feels that, see, 99% work of the president is done on the advice of the council of ministers. Okay, and right, so he works there, right? And president feel that the circumstances exist there which necessitate him to make law by promulgating an ordinance, right? Ordinance is kind of a law only. Okay, it is a kind of law, but it has because its origin is different and it is for a different purpose and in different circumstances, अलग माहौल में, अलग नजरिए से, सब कुछ अलग तरीके से आता है, तो स्पेशल लॉ है, इसको नाम हमने ऑर्डिनेंस रखा है, बट इट इज काइंड ऑफ लॉ ओनली. ओके, now it can be on what kind of subject. It's a law only, but it is brought under section 123 which I have said, discussed with you, and thus it is called ordinance. And this ordinance basically, in other words, this law, this can be issued only on the subjects on which the parliament can make law. Okay, on subjects on which parliament can make the law. Okay, now this parliament can make the law on the list which are mentioned in schedule 7. Right, and which list? List 1 and list 3. List 1 is union list, list 3 is concurrent list, and list 2 is a state list on which union cannot make law. So any subject which is part of only the state subject, right, that cannot be, on that ordinance cannot be issued by the president, right? Now, and once this ordinance is issued, it's not that it is forever. Okay, because ultimately president is executive head, but in spite of being the head of the executive, president has done a legislative work which has been essentially given to the parliament. But because of some urgent condition, the president, it became compulsory to make the law. It became necessity, urgent necessity. ठीक है, तो अब इन सर्कमस्टांसेस, क्योंकि बहुत जरूरी हो गया लॉ, इसलिए बनाया, तो इसलिए एग्जेक्टिव का जो ये लॉ, एग्जेक्टिव ने लॉ बनाया, इसको लेजिस्लेचर पास करेगा ही करेगा. ओके, तो इसकी एक्सपायरी क्या होती है? ऐसा होता है, एज पर लॉ इट एक्सपायर्स विद इन 6 weeks. ओके, 6 weeks. That is like 1.5 months. Okay, but the exact word is 6 weeks, right? कब से 6 weeks? From the reassembly of the session, right? Lok Sabha. So from the date of the reassembly of the Lok Sabha, within 6 weeks it shall be passed by the parliament as a normal law. Otherwise it becomes an act. If it doesn't pass it by, then this expires. Okay, so and see, there is a law that the parliament must reassemble more than 6 months shall not pass between 2 sessions of the parliament. So that means normally this bill's validity would be 6 months, because maximum this can be this, then plus 6 weeks. So this will be 6 months plus 6 weeks, or you can call it 7.5 months also. It can come in your paper as a MCQ also in this method, right? Now see, this ordinance is the difference between ordinance and act. Okay, let me tell you that now quickly. The difference between ordinance and act is primarily related to this thing, that for how long it is, a time period, for how long, okay, is the question. So ordinance is temporary and this act is permanent, right? Permanent, right? Then this ordinance over here, ordinance, you see, it is who issue this ordinance becomes law. Okay, but then See, this first this is passed by the president and then sent to the government and then again to the president. That is the procedure. Okay, that is the difference. And president issues it on the advice of the council of minister. Here the act is passed by the parliament and then it goes to the president. So that is it touches the president only once. So such kind of difference, and you can imagine and create your own differences, whatever you want to say. Okay, you can always discuss in the comment section also if you want to say anything on the difference or take of the ordinance and act. I hope it's clear to you. And then what happened that by 120 in article number 123, which is related to the promulgation of ordinances. Promulgating ordinance means that issuing the ordinance, and ordinance I've explained it to you already. So then what happened, that the 38th Constitutional Amendment Act added clause 4. Okay, and see, basically why this clause was added, because article 123 says that if the I'm reading article 123 clause 1's first few lines. If any time, except when both the houses of the parliament in session, obviously, right, the president is satisfied that the parliament, that circumstances exist which render it necessary for him to take immediate action. So it says the president is satisfied. Okay, this is an article 123 clause 1. President is satisfied. What happened by 38 Constitutional Amendment, a clause 4 was added to article number 123, and it said this, that this satisfaction of the president that I just spoke to you in article 123 clause 1. Okay, this satisfaction of the president, it cannot be questioned in court. Okay, now basically this was a method to hide the acts of the government, because president works on advice of council of minister, and this is called in question of court. Then ultimately you are questioning the government also. As I said to you, that whatever president does in the official capacity, for that he cannot be punished. Okay, so that is how it goes. Okay, but then also came the sane judgment. I always call it a sane judgment, and earlier 38, 42, these were some insane judgments. Okay, now 44th Constitutional Amendment Act came and it repealed the article 123 clause 4. So that means that satisfaction of the president, this can be challenged in court of law on the malified use of power. That if the power was used not in the manner as it should have been used, and the power was used in excess of what is required. Okay, so on the basis of malified, this can be questioned in court of law. Then number 2, see, but then it is not like this, the power anyone can go. See, you have to go and prove it then that there were no circumstances to issue the ordinance. If you prove it, then it is on the president to prove that there was existence of those circumstances. Okay, basically it's not on the president, right? Obviously president, he's working in his official capacity, it's the government which is responsible, right? And Supreme Court also related one thing, that if president prorogues both the house just to promulgate some ordinance and all, that is not a malified act. Okay, we can leave that a point if you're not understood. Very sidey thing. Now if ordinance is not passed, okay, it does not mean that all the acts which were done under the ordinance before it was put to vote for passing, जब ordinance को ऊपर voting की गई, उससे पहले जो ordinance से जुड़े हुए कुछ काम किए गए, all those acts would not be void ab initio. Okay, ab initio, from the very beginning they will not be void. Okay, this is all it means, right? Then this malified thing, it was like held in Cooper case, just in case for again for those curious souls who will eat my head, under which case was this happened. I keep on getting emails at times. I mean, it's crazy. Okay, if you ask me in an email, under what case did it happen, you don't need it. You're not writing law paper. This is polity exam. Please understand that. And if it is an important case, I'll tell you. I'm already telling you so many cases. I'm already burdening you. Okay. Now, so there is a case called Bombay case. This is very important. Now, many of you will forget this, but this is the case to be remembered. In this, Supreme Court held that the proclamation of proclamation by the president. Okay, under article number 356, that is was related to president rule. Okay, can be challenged on the ground of malifieds. Okay. So in this case, the similar thing was extended then to the ordinances under 123, right? Then then there is a landmark case. Okay, Bombay is okay, right? You can leave Bombay if you don't know. But the next case is most important actually, not the Bombay one. Okay, the case is R.K. Garg versus Union of India. Now this is the landmark case which you have to memorize. Okay, it explained the rationale. क्या सिद्धांत है आर्टिकल नंबर 123 का? What is the rationale behind article 123 was explained here. it says, first of all, number one, okay, let me change the color for the sake of convenience, right? Now, it is not far-fetching power to overstep legislature, okay? It is not to overstep legislature, number one. You cannot, decrease the importance of legislature using this provision, right? It is for the matters which are urgent, okay? Urgency and emergency, okay? And compelling circumstances, okay, such things, right? And there has been recently been accusations on the BJP government and earlier the Congress government on misusing this ordinance, and they have misused. I mean, come on, that is the truth, both of them, right? Congress used it for that right to food, okay, because it was more of a political propaganda. It could have been passed as a normal law also, right? No, by proper studying, right? So anyway, right, there are different, it can be, it is debatable, right? Can be debated, right? Anyway, right, Ambedkar was quoted by this judgment, by R.K. Garg, right? This judgment, and Ambedkar had said that it is not a parallel power of legislature, okay? No, so many of people, you right, it is like the power of the legislature to legislate law. No, it is not the parallel power of the legislature. I'm telling you, this is absolutely different power of the executive. Okay, it is only when the either house is not in session and there is urgency, then this clause is to be used. Okay, it is not that that you can just use it on daily basis. Okay, it is not then, right? And it is for obviously limited duration only, right? And president can promulgate ordinance, as I told you, only on those aspects on which parliament can make the law, right? And see, executive is also responsible to the parliament. There is collective responsibility. So if parliament feels that it has used in arbitrary manner, then opposition can also bring a no confidence motion with respect to this. Okay, so that is like the most important thing regarding the R.K. Garg judgment, right? Okay, so I hope it's clear, right? If there is any confusion from what I said earlier, let me just clarify it over here in very clear words, that even if single house of the parliament is not in session, even then the ordinance can be promulgated. Okay, both houses are in session, then ordinance can be promulgated. Okay, that is clearly written in article 123 also. Okay, now there is a very great author of constitutional law. His name is Sirvai. Okay, double E, right? Sirvai. Now he said the Supreme Court might declare some laws unconstitutional. Now this way government might be short of money, so we need money at that time. Okay, what happens that government needs money urgently. See, but that cannot be passed by law. So government may issue ordinance for that when the house is not in session for fulfillment of that money requirement. That is how this article 123 is used. Okay, general very technical thing. You can forget this if you don't want to. Right? It won't be asked in your paper. Just a side detail, right? Now, ordinance cannot make a provision which parliament is incompetent to connect. I'm repeating it again and again, okay? And ordinance can enable any provision which parliament can except for the provision which draws money from the Consolidated Fund of India, right? Article 114. Okay, so money, basically this is also the prerogative of the center, but center cannot issue ordinance for taking out money from the Consolidated Fund of India. There are two kinds of funds of India: Central Consolidated Fund of India and the Public Fund of India. Okay, so Consolidated Fund of India, to take out money out of this, you have to pass a act. Okay, and this contains all our taxes and all. Then this is Provident Fund of India. Your for your Provident Funds, public fund, right? All your Provident funds and all are deposited here, and for this you do not need an act to take out money. That is the difference. There is much more money in the Consolidated Fund of India every year getting collected and also being used regularly. Okay, we'll talk about this in the when I talk to you about the money bills and all in full detail. I'll tell you, right? Then after this, even the ordinances, are ordinances subject to FR? Okay, can ordinances breach FR? This is a question for you. Can ordinances breach FR? Answer is no, they cannot breach FR, right? Now see, there is like one case, R.K. Garg, you have to remember. Okay, it's very simple. And then there is another case over here which is related to this thing only about the passing of the ordinance. It's the A.K. Roy case, right? It says that the focus should be on the word circumstances. You can highlight this word in your bare acts. Focus on the word circumstances. If the president is satisfied that the circumstances exist, okay, And that is like number one. Number two is about the judicial review of the satisfaction of president. Okay, satisfaction of president. Can it be done? Yes, it can be done. It is not totally excluded. Okay, but then petitioner has to bring up a prima facie case. That the prima facie case means, you know, the beginning of the case, right? In law school there's often a joke on this, kisne prima facie, right? Anyway, right, prima facie, just in case you are forgetting this word, prima facie, that means on the face of it. Okay, on the face of it, right? Anyway, so there's more to know AK Roy case, which is related to that ordinance. Yeah, this ordinance cannot be just any ordinary law. This ordinance must be related to the public interest. Now this is again important. See why I'm telling you these case laws. This, expect this question in your exam. This, you know, maximum probability of this coming in exam. Okay. Then ordinance is a law. Okay, and as I told earlier also, ordinance is a law. Okay, and because and it's written, we read in the part 3 of the constitution, please recall it, that no law can breach fundamental right, can abridge fundamental right. So this is a law, so it cannot breach the fundamental right. Please try to understand this thing. Okay, so it is law for the purpose of article 21 and all the articles. Okay, and see then, you know, came the most landmark case. See, you will find this case in every newspaper article which talks about the ordinance power, and this is the DC Vadwa. In this case, what was happening in Bihar, many ordinance after ordinance after ordinance was being passed, circumventing the process of the lawmaking, and this was to avoid the debate and all the details. Okay, and in this case again it was held that it is only for the extraordinary circumstances. The word again highlighted here was the circumstances. Please highlight this word when you write the answer in your exam. Put it this way, put it in colon or put a bracket around it just to highlight it. Okay, circumstances, this is a very important word. Okay, to be written in exam. Now there should be urgency. Okay, this is again in Vadva, the same thing is being said again and again by the different judgments. Okay, and then you know, if it is not approved in the 6 months, it comes to an end, and such things. Okay, and obviously you cannot take money out of the Consolidated Fund of India, right? So but then, you know, there have been a few issues regarding this power, right? For example, no other country in the world, almost all of the world, no country has given so much power to executive. This is massive power with executive, so much power with executive, right? That is why we say that in India, the legislature, executive and judiciary, they are not in the watertight compartments. There is some sort of some sort of intermixing happening between two. Okay, so legislature is executive is doing the work, legislature of the executive. This way things are going on. Executive, legislature and judiciary, they are like, there's a mixture of all the work that is being done there. There's no strict definition, right? So but then, you know, so much power has never been given, and that is and this power is being misused in India. Now this is a matter of concern. It's a matter of concern from polity or legal concern. Okay, and then, you know, that is like one problem of it. Number two problem is that the control of the parliament is ex post facto. Okay, parliament is ex post facto. That means that the parliament is controlling the executive only after 6 months when the law has been passed. This is another issue related to this. Okay, and there cannot be there's no debate on the issue of the ordinance. There can be debate in the newspaper, or people like you and me can discuss it, but then there is no debate in the parliament. That is a problem. Okay, and then, you know, you cannot issue like ordinance for taking out money from the Consolidated Fund, and for amending the constitution also, you know, you cannot have the ordinance making happening, right? For the amendment of the constitution. So those were the legislative powers of the governor. Right now I would like to talk to you about the administrative powers. Okay, administrative powers, let me just put it here, administrative powers. So and this is very simple from here onwards. Only just one complexity remains, and that is about the judicial power, which we'll discuss at the end of the lecture. Okay, so administrative power include all executive functions of the union are done in his name, right? And he appoints so many people. I'll just give you a list of those people now. So these people include, number one is a prime minister and attorney general. Like this is just a list only. I'm giving you council of minister, Delhi's chief minister. Okay, Delhi chief minister. Normally governors do that, the chief ministers, right? And then See, he might see, you might have seen that Delhi Lieutenant Governor doing that duty, but that is a delegation of power that he has done, right? So then he appoints Comptroller Auditor General under his signature, right? Judges of the Supreme Court and the High Court, these people, right? And then there is also this Finance Commission appointed, right? And what else, right? We have UPSC members, and the state JPSC, this Joint Public Service Commission members, okay, not the state public service, not. And then Election Commission, right, including the Chief Election Commissioner, CEC, right? And then also the CVC and the Governor and the Chairman of SC/ST Commission, right? Now, every appointment of the union government is by president or under his authority. That is how it is done, right? Even all the chief justices, right? Chief justices, right? Now, what more can president do on administrative lines? He can remove a minister individually. Now, of course, this is on the advice only, right? So many of these appointments are also advice only. And then he can remove the governor. Now this is again not the discretionary power, this is on the advice of council of ministers. And after parliament, if parliament passes a resolution, then on passing of resolution, these people can be removed. Who are these people? For example, the judges of Supreme Court or High Court, or the Chief Justice of India, okay, or other chief justices, right? So all these people, if a resolution is passed, they can be removed, right? Chief Election Commissioner is there, right? He is also removed on the passing of the resolution only, right? And the CAG also, this is like the same thing, you can omit this line, CAG, right? And then on the report of the Supreme Court, this is very interesting. Now on the report of the Supreme Court, what I mean to say is that there are certain things in which Supreme Court's report is sought. So Supreme Court reports, and on the basis of this report, these people are removed. What? Chairman of UPSC, JPSC, State PCS, okay, PSC, Public Service Commission, and the Chief Vigilance Commissioner, right? These four are removed on the report of the Supreme Court. So very general administrative power, nothing much there to learn, right? And then there is third, the military power of the governor. Military power, very simple power again, right? He declares the war and he declares the peace, right? War and peace are declared by him, and obviously subject to regulation or law. It's not that he works according to whims and fancies, right? And the parliament regulates it, right? And then also the appointment of these people from the heads of the three wings of our defense, right? Army, Navy, Air Force, right? Then comes the next part, which is related to the emergency powers of the president, right? So what are these emergency powers? These are article 352, 356, declaration of emergency, and also article number 359 and 58 regarding taking away of the rights of the people. We'll talk this in emergency. Number 6 is the financial powers. Okay, financial powers. So what kind of powers? Very simple, right? Budget is laid with his permission, as I talked earlier also, right? And then his recommendation for money bill and finance bill, and then he constitutes finance commission's members, and he controls the Consolidated Fund of India, and then CAG is appointed by him, and he places the CAG's report, and he places the finance commission's recommendations to the parliament, and that's all his financial power, right? Then he's also got this diplomatic powers. All international exchanges of India are done in his name, okay? All our ambassadors goes as his as the representative through him, right? All treaties, agreements are signed in his name, and he represents India at international fora. That is why he has to travel so much. So that is about diplomatic powers, right? And then there are a few discretionary powers also of the president. I'll tell you what are those powers. Number 8 is discretionary powers. And discretionary powers. What are these powers? Okay, let me tell you. These powers, they are, president is not, is a constitutional head, right? He's not a figurative head, he's a constitutional head. It's not just figurative head, right? And he has many discretionary powers of the president. Very important actually, right? For example, under Article 74, it says that the president shall have a council of ministers. Clearly written down in Article 74 only, okay, that there shall be a council of ministers with the prime minister to aid and advise the president, and by exercising through his power, right? Now president can refer back the advice of council of minister to them, for reconsideration of advice. Okay, now obviously, he has to have some background to it. It's not just his imagination. He thinks that legally or morally or ethically he feels that this is not correct, then he can always refer back to the prime minister, right? And then obviously consular minister, they can't override the reference, right? It's not that they must listen to it, they must discuss it, right? If you remember that this is what like KR Narayanan did when Vajpayee cabinet recommended to the governor that they should impose a president rule in Bihar. He said that you should reconsider it, and if it is passed again, though it is clearly written in Article 74 only that if it is passed again by the parliament, okay, that president may require the council of right that if it is passed again by the parliament, then president has to give his assent, okay, right? And then then comes Article 78 also. This is again regarding the discretionary power of the president. So one is about the 74, other is the 78. 78 is the prime minister needs to inform the president. I'm talking about 78. The prime minister has to inform the president about the administration of the country, right? It's a constitutional right of the president. He can even call earlier also the prime minister to give such information, right? And in fact, because of the British conventions, even in India, president has a right to warn, okay, or encourage the council of ministers, right? Though it is not binding on them, but then it has a great political value, right? And in fact, Venkataraman, when he was there, he would frequently give his advice on foreign policy, economic policy, right? To the Venkataraman was he was a president for a long time, right? Venkataraman. In fact, there were 4 chief ministers who worked under him, right? And that's how it was. And then president has the right to be consulted by minister, right? And then regarding his discretionary power we are talking about, okay. So number 1 is the 74, right, the council of minister. 78 is about this thing, the information, providing information by the prime minister to the president, right? And then discretionary power is there in 2 kinds of veto. One is suspensive veto and one is pocket veto, right? In suspensive veto and pocket veto he has the right. In absolute veto he has not the right of the discretion, but here it has. So this is a very important thing I'm discussing with you. This can come as independent question also, okay. Let me just put on numbers over here, okay. This is like number 1 and then number 2 and then number 3, okay. This is like veto, and let's go back for number 4, okay. Let's write it down. And number 4 is about Article 85, okay. This says that he can summon the house of the parliament to meet his constitutional duty to call the houses, right, within 6 months. It's his duty to call the session of the house within 6 months, right? And usually normally there are 3 sessions held in a parliament in a year, and they're summoned by the president on the advice of council of minister, right? But then this is discretion, right, applied in case of in case the council of minister doesn't give any help, then he applies his own discretion. That is how it is a discretionary power, right? Under Article 85 it is given regarding the summoning, this power is there, right? Number 4 is this, right? Number 5, and then I'll put number 6 also. Number 5 is about when there is no majority in Lok Sabha, okay, then he can assist. There is no majority in Lok Sabha, then he can assist in formation of council of minister. Formation of council of minister when there is no majority, right? Though this is very limited, but then still then it is a discretionary power, right? Then under Article 78 there is another one, right? 78, and this is again that he can actually seek he can refer individual decision of a minister for collective consideration, okay. Some single minister decides something, then the president single minister decides something, right? Now what president can do, he can send this advice of the single minister, right, this decision of the single minister for the collective consideration, that everyone should consider the decision taken, and because he doesn't feel that the particular decision was in the interest of the country, okay. Then we have more over here, right? I'll put here over here number 7, okay. Let me just do it in different color only. Number 7 is about the very interesting actually, this is about that whether to dissolve the house or not. It is a discretion of the president, okay, to dissolve the house or not. Dissolution of the house, right? And even if consular minister doesn't enjoy the majority, right? In case there is majority in the Lok Sabha, then the president also has to work. But if there is no majority, then he can decide actually in the interest of the nation, right? And then there's one more concept, and that is related to the okay, let's put it here, number 8 over here. This is related to the caretaker government. Okay, caretaker government. What is given under this? That in case there is a taker government, right, then only important policy decisions has to be taken by them. No bigger decisions can be taken. And since because caretaker government doesn't enjoy the majority in the parliament, that is why they cannot take major decisions, right? And so so president decides which decisions are important or not. So here is a discretionary power in case of the caretaker government. Okay. And then there are a few other parts. For example, the appointment of prime minister, right? More or less it is not a discretionary, but technically speaking, even the appointment of the prime minister is a discretionary power of the president. And number 10 is, if he want to dismiss ministries, if consular minister does not enjoy confidence. Okay, a consular minister is not enjoying the confidence of the house, and even then he wants to dismiss a ministry, then there is some discretion. Okay, so I'll just put it here, dismissal of ministry. That is how it is. Very simple, right? I'll just sum it up for you, right? Article 74, aid and advice, then report. Okay, and then okay, this is aid and advice, and then this is the reporting, right? And then this is the two kinds of vetoes over here: suspensive veto, pocket veto. Then article 85, right? He has to summon the house within 6 months, and normally this is like I told you 3 months and all. And then that's 85, and then after number 4 we have number 5 here, which talks about he assists in the formation of council of minister. Okay, and whenever there is any issue of minority involved, right? Number 6 is related to article 78. If suppose for a single minister takes a decision, he can seek the collective consideration of the entire cabinet for that, right? Number 7 is when is the house to be dissolved, and number 8 is regarding the caretaker government, what decisions are policy decisions or what decisions are important decisions that is decided by the president, and who shall be the prime minister of the country. And number 10 is the dismissal of the ministry. Okay, so that is like his power. So all in all, okay, to sum it up for you, I'll just sum it up for you. The various powers of the president whenever you have to talk. The number 1 is the legislative power. Okay, I hope you are quite clear about this, right? And then we also talked about his administrative power, then his military power. See, if you write these 10 words, 10 headings, itne mein hi kitne words ho jayenge. Okay, then also his emergency powers, then there was his financial power, I talked to you. Okay, and diplomatic power is there, and then he had some discretionary powers. Okay, discretionary. So I've done like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 kinds of power. Then there is one more important kind of power. This is known as the judicial power of the president, right? Now I will not do this in this particular lecture only, because otherwise this lecture will get too long. Okay, and it's already like crossing like 40 plus minutes, so it's too long. I will cover one more topic, and judicial power will be done as a separate lecture in the next lecture, right? Now what is that different? One more topic left here which I want to talk to you. It is the constitutional position of the president. Okay, whether he is just a titular head, what kind of head he is he just a titular head, right? So see, our constitution is based on the British parliamentary system, right? Our constitution is based on the British parliamentary system, right? This is, every one of us knows this, right? And the president in India is basically just like the Queen of the England, and he is more of a formal, right? He's the constitutional head of the executive. Okay, constitutional head of executive. That is how it is, right? Now all those powers which are when we say that he's the executive, what is the executive? See, you have judiciary, you have legislature, whatever is left is executive. That way, that is the easier, the best definition of executive actually. Okay, now executive has no authority to act against the law, right? But doesn't mean that there must be law for executive to act on. Okay, and then see, president, whatever whenever I say the presidential satisfaction, obviously it is not his personal satisfaction. it is the satisfaction of the Council of Ministers. Whenever I use the word presidential satisfaction, the Council of Ministers satisfaction, right? And for example, president has like choice of prime minister, and see, all those are exceptions, those are discretionary parts which I discussed earlier with you, okay? And India's this parliamentary form of government, this parliamentary system in India, this is running on three principles, right? That the head of the state is nominal, that the head of state is nominal. Okay, let me just write the word again, nominal. Okay, and not the head, it's not the head of the government, okay? Because and so this shows that a real power that lies with the Council of Ministers, okay? And then say that this is the first principle. Number two, I'm writing here the Council of Ministers is responsible to the Lok Sabha, and right, it is responsible to Lok Sabha. Number three is that the Council of Ministers members, right, they are drawn from the Lok Sabha only. These are the three principles of our parliamentary system, right? Now, keeping these in mind, right, plus our president and everything, right? So when we take into consideration all these things, we come to the conclusion, and including Article 74, which says that there shall be Council of Minister to aid and advise. So that means Council of Minister has to be there, right? So that also shows that nothing can be done without their advice. That is why the word used in Article 74 is there shall be. There has to be. It's not there may be. There shall be, because president cannot work without the advice of the Council of Ministers. Okay, and president is bound. Say so long as they enjoy the confidence in the Lok Sabha. Okay, the president is bound, right? And if I have to conclude this lecture in the words of Dr. Ambedkar, right? He said that president is like the king or the queen. King or the queen in the English Constitution, right? He represents, right? He represents the country. He represents, but it doesn't rule the country. He represents, but not the rule the country. Okay, his position, he whatever he's holding, he's holding the office of ceremony. Okay, right? Then he's the symbol of the nation, that is why we need president in India, and through him only, right, the Council of Minister decisions, they are made known to the people. Council of Minister take a decision, but that is implemented through the president only, right? Though the Constitution provides Council of Minister as the advisor of the president, but in reality the opposite is happening. Okay, and then he's not just a ceremonial head, right? And he's just that, right? Ceremonial or nominal head. He's not the real head. Okay, for example, he's the supreme commander of the forces. Okay, and defense of under his authority. But then how the defense behave, that is decided by the Council of the Ministers. Okay, and so an order of the president cannot be challenged on the ground that the president had not applied his mind personally. So this again, I told you that this is not the personal satisfaction; it is the satisfaction of the Council of Ministers which really matters. Okay. So and then but then if there are a few exceptions which I've already talked to you, okay, regarding this, right? Now, president can't carry the administration of the country without the cooperation of the parliament. It's very, very clear, right? His role, I can tell you that his role is actually of the guide. Let's put it better. Okay, his role is that of the friend, philosopher, and guide. For the government of India, right? And he cannot assume himself that the role of the master, right? That role has been given to the prime minister only. Okay, and that is how actually this president is, right? And then there is just one or more thing that I'd like to talk to you before I end this lecture, right? Regarding this aspect only. Okay, so this is like about the Indian presidency only, right? In fact, initially, there was a dispute when the Dr. Rajendra Prasad, when he was the president of India, he said that I am supreme, but then Nehru clarified it to him that he is not supreme. That is the Council of Ministers that is supreme, right? In fact, he raised this issue again and again earlier in 1960, even up to 1960, right? And this controversy that the president is supreme was raised by many prime presidents. For example, Gyani Jal Singh, even he raised this thing, right? He exercised this like regarding the post office bill, right? He used the pocket veto. but then now it is settled that a pocket veto is the discretion of the president, right? Kalam used this regarding office of profit bill, and again they have been like debatable things. Okay, so overall, just to, if I have to conclude at this lecture, the position of the president, see, I tell you that, see, neither he is Caesar. Okay, Caesar was a king, neither he's a king, and nor is he a Sifar means zero, zilch, nil. ना ही वो राजा है, ना ही वो शून्य है, वो कहीं बीच में कहीं वो अटका सा हुआ है. यू कैन राइट योर आंसर ऑन दीज लाइंस. ओके, सो दैट इज अबाउट द प्रेसिडेंट. एंड इसके बाद अब एक बात बचती है रिगार्डिंग द प्रेसिडेंट, दैट इज जुडिशियल पार्ट, दैट वी विल डू इन द नेक्स्ट लेक्चर. So that was all about today's lecture, and now just wanted to make two very important announcements. And the first thing is that I just wanted to thank you all whosoever you have shared my videos on various social media, on Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus, everywhere. Thank you so much from my heart, and it is my humble request that you please keep on sharing this video in future also. जिन्होंने आज तक नहीं share की, if you really like the video, it's my humble request, please share it with others. That gives me encouragement to make better videos and ज़्यादा वीडियोज़, एंड आई कैन कवर ज़्यादा सब्जेक्ट अगर आप इस वीडियो को शेयर करते हैं. एंड सेकेंड थिंग इज़ that this is for your own benefit. If you really like these videos and you want that updates about the new videos should come into your mailbox, you can subscribe to us. You can see the subscribe button over here. You can click on us and videos will come right into your email box. आप हमें सब्सक्राइब कर सकते हैं. अगर ऐसा करते हैं तो वीडियोस डायरेक्टली आपके मेल बॉक्स में आ जाएंगी. बस इतना ही कहना है. दैट इज़ ऑल, एंड थैंक यू फॉर वॉचिंग द वीडियोज़.